the thing he's whining about now is that when he left the royal family and his official role, they said, we're not going to be paying for your security when you come over here. You know, you've left you're no longer a working royal, so you're not going to get the police force around you when you pay visits here. And Harry's argument to the BBC and in court was, I can never leave the royal family. I could leave as a working royal, but I am part of the royal family, and therefore I'm in danger. And that they never did a review of my security status. They just yanked it to try to force me, and you were saying this couldn't possibly be, but try to force me to stay as a working royal, because he said my threat level was the highest of anybody back in like 2020. And then they revoked all my protection without even doing an additional security assessment, proving in his mind they knew I was at risk. And while I left as a working royal, I never can leave being a royal because, as he said to the BBC, you know, I am who I am.
100%. And he wants to be treated like a former prime minister who will receive lifetime security rights. So even Liz Truss, she was prime minister for six weeks, she receives security for the rest of her life. He believes that that's what he deserves. Now, Megyn, in the negotiations after Megxit, at this thing called the Sandringham Summit, where all of the senior royals, the late Queen Elizabeth II, King Charles, William, and their senior staff gathered, Harry was told point blank, you will lose your security if you leave in this way. Yes, that is why the royals tried to come to some type of arrangement with Harry. There were loads of ideas thrown around. At one point, it was like, could we maybe move you to South Africa, a Commonwealth country, for 6 months of the year? What about making you the Governor General of Australia? Is there some type of role for you in Canada? But as soon as Meghan Markle made it absolutely clear that it was all about the moolah, it was all about the big bucks, it was all about trading off the royal name. And you've got to remember, she was lining up these deals, Meghan, when she was still the Duchess of Sussex. She was in talks with Disney, she was in talks with the publishing companies, in talks with Netflix. So at that point, the late Queen Elizabeth II, quite rightly, in my opinion, said, no, there is no half in, half out. So you can go, you go with our blessing, but you lose everything and you do lose your security. And you can imagine the difficulty for the British government, because if they were to fund Prince Harry's security, that would also mean that there would be pressure for them to provide security to other high net worth famous individuals who come to the United Kingdom.